And we told you we're ready for the news review. We have a couple of the newspapers, but again, we're having a main focus on accidents. And just over the weekend, we had the number of fatalities, especially in the Karachi area, 9 people, 6 immediately and 3 others subsequently in the hospital in the Karachi area, especially in the Karachi West District, where we had an accident, a Rhino truck load of people, so to speak, you know, packing people like sardines. Subsequently, it just somersaulted. We have 6 deaths, 3 others subsequently, and 6 in total, 9 in total. On the other side of the country, down south, we had 2 MPs escaping death. We're talking about 2 of our topmost MPs. And well, Joseph Akable is here. And Joseph, what do you think about the state of accidents so far?
I think it's very unfortunate. I mean, it keeps happening, especially over the weekend, where you have people traveling around a bit. And that's why we, at Multimedia, we are pushing the Arrive Alive campaign, urging you to be cautious in terms of the safety tips that we put out, including wearing your seat belt, and when the visibility is not too good, not speeding. I think the conversation is getting to the level where we'll expect some action from those who matter, in this particular instance, legislators, because it appears that despite all the country has done over a certain period, we are still dealing with road accidents, and it's very worrying. Yeah.
I work with a company called Road Safety Management Services Limited. Basically, we're involved in towing as well as related ambulance service provision, etc. And the number of cars that we have to remove on the road each day, sometimes number in the numbers of 3, 4, 5. That is those that already are at a point on the road where they could pose danger. And many of the times, when you go and tow those cars, people will tell you, well, we have no laws that are making it mandatory or saying that if I get to break down, I should get towed off. So they decide to repair the cars on the road. People run into those cars sometimes.
Especially when you have busy roads. That's when you have them put a triangle on top of the car instead of giving it a bit of distance, so that at least when someone sees it too late, he can move away from it quickly.
And just over the weekend, I saw one on the motorway, after the motorway at Tetekwashi, and people had run into the truck loaded with cargo. It speaks volumes about how we're indisciplined, but also how we all need to complement. And we all come on board, not only with us, but also Road Safety Management Services, the authority, and everybody, for us to be able to make a good impact when it comes to our Arrive Alive campaign.
I agree.
We have a couple of the top newspapers, so please start with the Daily Guide.
Yes, the front page of the Daily Graphic has a story about Free Senior High School. It says it's distinctive. That's according to the Vice President. Students in Wuhan renew plea for evacuation, and GS gives assurance of quality education under new bill. Registrar General exceeds targets for 2019 is also on the front page of the Daily Graphic. On the back page, there are some sports stories here. Koji's goal turns stadium into dancing arena. That is, Kofi Koji is a striker for Hearts of Oak. 5-star Liberty cut Ediana to size. And Kotoko Ashanti Gold shares balls also on the back page. It's a story by Daniel Kenu from Kumasi.
Yeah, the experienced Daniel Kenu.
Yes, I knew that would take you. The Ghanaian Times front page has a story about the accidents that we're speaking about. It says 9 die, 51 injured in fatal crash. And fire sweeps through Abu Abu Dagomba line in Kumasi. Another accident story on the front page of the Ghanaian Times says Muntaka Banda MP survived road accident near Konongo. That's a photograph of the 2 senior members of parliament, the minority chief whip and his deputy there. A Ghanaian doctor in Florida in trouble over $26 million fraud. There's a photograph of Dr. DeGraft Johnson, who we are told has remitted huge sums of money to Ghana. The prosecutors say that is to pursue his agenda of wanting to run for presidency at some point. And so that story is on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. The back page of the Ghanaian Times has the Hearts of Folk story and the Ashanti Gold story as well. The table as it stands, Ash Gold topping, Kotoko second.
Same points though with Ash Gold.
I'm sure someone will ask where is Hearts of Folk. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. I have to count. They are down.
You're a Kotoko fan, I know.
Yes.
That's great. At least we share something in common.
Yeah, we can agree.
Over a
on
lot of uncommon things.
The front page of the Daily
But
Statesman
I think we
now.
share something in common. You're a recluse. I'm also a bit of a recluse too.
I see.
You like your life private. All right, so let's move on.
The Daily Statesman front page says NDC under fire for stealing NPP energy sector success, and Airbus scandal triggers global action. Countries and companies implicated pursue bribe takers, and commitment without inducement. Who plays host to NPP's TESCON at 20. Those are stories you can find on the front page of the Daily Statesman. I'll do the Ghanaian Observer. That'll be the last one for me. It says DI boss slams 1D1F critics, rallies support for NPP's flagship program, and government replies NDC over energy sector claims. So those are the main stories on the front page of the Ghanaian Observer, the Daily Graphic, and the Ghanaian Times.
All right, so let me do the Daily Guide. Front page of the Daily Guide, we have Mahama causes stir in Kumasi. And apparently Mahama and the Vice President were at a program together. It says this year's Maulud Nabi, to which the celebration of the birthday of the Holy Prophet Muhammad was convened in Kumasi. And well, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and former President John Dramani Mahama were in attendance. Well, we're told that their participation or presence just among a number of drama that the Daily Guide is reporting or claims. Okay. All right. Other stories also on the front page. Free SHS, no challenger. Unionization process begins at NLA. We're talking the National Lottery Authority. Also on the front page, the Dankwa Institute is scoring the Ekumfi 1D 1F high. You tasted it before?
Yes, I did. I loved it.
Yeah.
And it's. I was very proud when I saw it. I walked into a mall and I actually happened to see it in there, and I was very impressed. Yes.
Yeah. You're very Pan-African. I've noticed that about you, so that's good. I always patronize what is made in your country. Yeah. 9 died, 51 injured in Ketekrache accident. And we're focusing on accidents because, you know, we're leading the way. We've done that over the last 4 weeks, and it's caught up a lot of fire, not only on social media, but also as part of our content-driven focus on accidents, how to make sure that as a pedestrian, a motorist, etc., or a driver, when you set off to a destination, you arrive not only in safe hands, but the way you started off. And so we always encourage you to add a hashtag Arrive Alive, but for the focus of the show, always add the hashtag AM Show and hashtag JoyNews, and rightly captured by the Daily Guide. Let's go to the back page. It's all sports. We're talking GFA Ash Gold Morning with John Mensah. We know that John Mensah lost the mom, and over the weekend the burial took place in Obuasi, his home state or town. It depends on how you want to. But meanwhile, Heart Strike injury time winner reminds me of the Tottenham Aston Villa game. It was one that was scored the last minute by Song. Very painful for the fans of Aston Villa, even though I have to say that the first goal was an own goal scored by the one who scored the first goal for Tottenham. Very interesting over the weekend in the English Premier League. But let's go to the Daily Dispatch. The Daily Dispatch has on the front page Ghana card registration, and they're going to give you the top 10 categories. Farmers 17%, student 15%, unemployed 5%. I'll ask later Joseph Akable whether he's registered. I haven't registered yet. I'll make sure I do, because the Ghana card is not going to be the in thing for all of us, for identity, but also for extrapolation of data and for data aggregation. Education in Volta, Ashanti, Greater Accra, Eastern and Central regions. And I keep saying that if you want to get some of the best statistics, always get all the highlights in the Daily Dispatch newspaper. They also have Ghana's preparedness for coronavirus inadequate. This one attributed to the World Health Organization. And, just in case you think we're okay, according to a news desk they're monitoring, it's indicating that compliance levels, cooperation provisions, etc., are okay, but not topmost in tackling corona if we should have it in huge numbers. The other stories we have on the front page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper, the true story of how Tete Kwashi brought cocoa beans to Ghana. I don't know what the story is. I don't know whether it's still in the text, but it should be. Fernando Po. We're told. Nobody can ever forget that. We also do have the West African country where only 34% of the population, sexually active population, apparently use condoms. And it says only 34% of adult Nigerians surveyed in a national poll use condoms during sex. So the rest, they don't. Jacob, a friend of mine called Jacob, says condoms are not his thing. Well, let's get through two more newspapers. We have the Independent newspaper, has on the front page, the economy has significantly improved. Dr. Texan, and he was on Newsfile over the weekend. I'm hoping this was couched on Newsfile. Yeah, it's a JoyNews flagship political show, Newsfile, on Saturday 15th. Yeah, I listened to him. So, all right. And then we have Goil introduces higher quality petrol in Ghana. They say up there we have monies on Ayalolo cards are secured. Card system to be reintroduced by end of first quarter 2020 for Chidi assures. And I remember when the service was rolled out, was it in 2016, 15, 16? Yes, I had a card. It was a green card, a yellow green card. If they go, I threw it away because the service was off. So I'll go and have it done again. Let me look at the last paper. The Gold Street business fall in petrol prices likely soon as price build-up turns negative. All right. Now, you have a story you want to touch base on?
There's a story about the education bill. We've had that conversation on different occasions. The Director General is giving some assurance that it will ensure quality education. We know the teacher unions had some concerns about how it could open up for persons who may not necessarily have the educational qualification to hold certain positions to come in amongst others. So this story is on page 20 of the Daily Graphic. It says the pre-tertiary education bill before Parliament, if passed into law, will help improve on the quality of education and supervision. It has therefore assured teacher unions that the bill will not in any way compromise the quality of education. This is an interview that the Director General of GES, Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwa, gave he gave the assurance in an interview with the Daily Graphic. He's quoted as saying, "I will always set the parameters within which pre-tertiary education should be delivered," he assured the teacher unions there. And so let's see how it goes. It's still a bill. It's before Parliament, and so they are going to engage the relevant unions to make changes to it, hoping that eventually what is passed by Parliament will be a bill that all unions will be satisfied with, understanding that this is something that will ensure it improves not just the students or how they give instruction to the students, but the teachers as well, who are very important actors in this whole education sector.
And if you look at the state of the bill, the NAGRAT and the other allied teacher unions or associations were extremely, if not still extremely worried, especially about the recruitment processes for who will become the regional heads and all that. Because in the bill, it's being said that those approvals, that phrase that we tend to use for many of our public agency appointments, subject to approval by the president. And that's a concern. Because the concern they reiterated was that it could mean that anybody just shoved into the system or perhaps smuggled into the system by politically exposed persons, especially when their party is the practicing government or executive of the day.
That person gets approved, and this is someone who has no
and we do know that we live in a country in which we say we work with the laws, but if surreptitiously we go according to the regulations, but then there's no fairness, it brings a lot of problems. Because education, I believe, in my estimation, which I side with NAGRAT and the other agencies, is a specialized area. So for somebody to be a regional head of an education directorate, it means that you should have the experience, the know-how, etc. to be able to do. And if we have one day somebody who is not right in the head, a politically exposed person says that, look, this person has gone through the process, qualifies, etc. And you know how we do it in our country, the approval is given. You're going to have a political head who is going to kowtow to somebody at the presidency, and it brings problems. Yeah. We're not saying that it's going to happen next year when the bill is passed. To somebody, but it will happen. Somebody will abuse the system. It's the same thing that we did with the NCA Act, in which we're saying that you shouldn't broadcast within a certain range. Or the other aspect about what you have to pay annually, whether they are licenses or some other fees. And we left it, no government has abused it or perhaps has decided to trigger it. And then we have the current NCA management triggering a legal law, a regulation that is there, and they just triggered what is there. But then it frowns on free speech, the ability to be able to communicate from what the message should be to through a sender to a certain destination for you to get the needed feedback. And it frowns on our constitution as well. But at the end of the day, that's what we had in law. Yeah. And it could be abused. And I don't know what the public heads of education will say, but
so I think this is it's good we are having this conversation at this time. I mean, and so what it means is that in passing laws, we must all take an interest in it and ensure that the fine print, the words, the sentences, anything you put in there should be such that you can think of the worst case scenario. If someone is at post who doesn't have the interest of all of us at heart or has his own interest he wants to satisfy, he's prevented by the law from doing so. And so those are things that we expect the unions to bring to bear to ensure that such things don't happen in the course of our life.
Sure,
I mean.
sure. You're right. There's a related conversation about how the city has done so well, because I monitored Newsfile over the weekend, and of course we had this argument between Dr.
Gideon Boako and
then also is it John
Jinapo? Yes, he's
John
the former
deputy. Yes, and the argument, of course, also dovetails into how the city performs against the other major currencies, and that also has had an influence on how well the city has appreciated over the period. Yeah. You know, against the major international currencies, and we have to put things into perspective. Look, it is true that prior to the close of the year, that last quarter, the fourth quarter, we tend to have a lot of influx of goods, and so people would have to buy more dollars to go to whichever market. And the biggest market now where we do a lot of importation is from the Chinese market. And so we've had coronavirus, which has now brought everything to a standstill. So we've had some good gains when it comes to the appreciation of the city. It also, for me, in my perspective, speaks volumes about how if we could focus more on things of value addition of our raw materials, and we produce things we can consume here, we will be able to perhaps have a certain panacea to how we are able to stabilize the city against the major international currency. Because nothing is coming in, and so whichever dollar you are able to exchange is in country, we've been able to create that stability for our currency.
I agree. I think the blueprint is quite obvious. It's just that we are import dependent to an extent, and there are some items that we cannot help but just import. And so the starting point should obviously be that we need to identify the ones that we can easily do away with. And so what I expect government to do with eco-juice, for instance, is that, you know, there are state organizations that buy such items for various events that they hold. And so you should force them to buy it just from the company. You can imagine how much of foreign exchange we are going to keep if we decide that all the public organizations who buy juices for all those programs will just buy from that place. That's a lot.
A critical example also is cocoa. You know, when we grow cocoa in the raw state, we say that we should be able to add value to the beans. The industry worldwide is a little over 100 billion. And between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, the topmost producer countries, we only take about 5 billion. Until recently, last April, when we decided to do some hedging, raise the prices to over $400 per metric ton. The thing is, if we want to do that, we also need to make sure we commit to it. I don't know whether it's a political cycle of the political parties or the person in power that doesn't give us the leeway or the space to be able to say, citizens, hold on, and we want to invest here. If you add the subject of even how jute, jute sacks. Yeah, yeah. If we have to import jute sacks from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, to be able to bag our raw cocoa beans, while we can grow jute itself, the plant, we can grow jute in Bono and Halfo because it's been found through the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research that the soil, the fertility levels are good enough. You can grow it up north. You can grow in many of the savanna regions of northern Ghana. And you still have jute made. And the sacks will be there for everybody to acquire through cocoa board. Yeah. And, it speaks volume about having off-takers when you produce.
So I think it is a political decision. It's an economic decision as well. Yeah. We are simply investing at the wrong side because, mind you, we've been investing a lot into the cocoa production itself. That's how come we've sustained our production levels since independence till now. Yeah. And so we just have to take a step further and decide we are going to invest in adding.
It's a political decision. I agree with you. Whoever has the stomach, knowing that I could lose my first term or second term is a big issue. But let's do myJoyNews.com, Joseph.
Yes. Speaker Okwe urges journalists to help develop principled politics. And with Ashanti murder, nurses threatening to withdraw services in Ashanti region. Police open investigations into road accidents involving Muntaka and Ibrahim. Rosewood Committee report is a big cover-up. That's according to Clement Apak. As it happened, the NDC's presser on havoc of failed Galamsey fight. And 2 companies under investigation for importing infested gizzard. 21 schools in Upper West region miss out on the NSMQ prelims due to lack of funds. That's quite unfortunate. The last story on my Online is the NDC press conference close to the river that's...
River Pratt.
Yeah. Maxwell covered that press conference this morning when I came in. He had something, a bottle... Look brownish.
Have you glided or plied the bridge? Just
yes, I've used it some time back. It didn't look good at all. Yeah. But Maxwell gave me the bottle. He asked me whether I want to drink it. I didn't actually think it was water.
And communities along the Praia drink it.
Yeah, very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. All right, so that'll be it for now. We have to take a break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more right here for you, but we have the latest sports headlines. Do stay with us. Your team...
Barcelona won over the weekend. Kotoko drew with Ashgold. Those are the 2 teams. The two best teams on earth.
In Spain, I love Real Madrid. So
you guys drew 2-2.
Yeah, I know.
Poor team.
Yeah, Celta. All right, we'll have to take a break. Sports is next.